I feel like I'm a little bit at a transitional point for myself
Mm,
right now. Um, yeah, I have worked with galleries in the past. So I've had a, f- a few kind of more long-term gallery relationships. Um,
yeah.
that I guess when I say that, I mean, I've worked with galleries in the past where I've given them work and they've, hung it in their galleries and it's been there for a longer period of time. Rather than, but I've also done a lot of things with galleries where I've done shows that they'll have and things like that, but
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a long-term relationship. I have always felt, I've always tried, I guess, to put my work out there in a variety of different ways. So I've kind of from the beginning had a little bit of that online presence. And I think that was really beneficial for me because I think a lot of other artists have the opposite um, trajectory where they kind of get involved in their local art scene first, and then they branch out. And then they kind of think, how can I branch out? How can I find a wider audience? And for me, for whatever reason, it was almost the opposite, where I had kind of this online audience, people that were finding my work via Etsy, my website. I had a blog back in the blogging days.
Mhm.
And I had people that were I was connecting with through those avenues, but they obviously were not local to me. These people were
Mm,
even some of them overseas, a lot of people just around the country here. And that was exciting to me. And it also just felt like that's what all the artists were doing. But
yeah.
I came to find out that that wasn't necessarily true. And I thought, oh, I need to like tap into what's going on around me here. Because I was shipping paintings, and that has still stayed the main source, I guess, of my income as an artist is not through local
Yeah.
avenues necessarily. So, but I started doing, I did like a couple years in a row or a few years in a row. I did like street festivals. So I had a tent. I had the whole outdoor setup thing. This was in the early days with my art. That is such a hustle. It is
Yeah.
so much work. And I admire artists that continue to have that to be like a major part of their business structure, their business model, because that's a lot of work.
Mhm.
Hauling your paintings back and forth. But I loved that I took all those opportunities because it gave me connections to people that I wouldn't have otherwise found. And that also connected me to the first galleries that I worked with, because some of those gallery directors and managers would be going around to some of those kinds of shows and they would meet you and things like that. And I was always trying to put my work into juried shows, um, to see if I was, just to kind of have that peer review a little bit of your work to
Mhm.
feel, I guess that's always been important to me to have, to not just put my work out into the world and be like, I love it, so I don't care what other people think of it. I mean, I guess it would be dishonest for me to say that I don't care what other people think about my work. I feel like it's a huge honor to feel that I have not just the approval, but like the admiration of my peers, my artistic peers. That is that is a big amount of fulfillment for me
Yeah.
as an artist, to feel that. And so I've always had that attempt to put my work into different juried shows, whether they're local or national juried shows and things like that. And I've had various, levels of success with that over the years. Sometimes you get a painting in a show and most times you don't. But those were good experiences for me. And then to go to those show openings. So I've had those kinds of relationships with galleries over the years. The long-term relationships that I've had, I mean, I don't want to speak negatively about anyone in particular, but they haven't always felt extremely beneficial, on the one hand. And I don't know if that's because I had kind of built up an audience and a collector base of my own. And so I felt that, I guess for me at this stage, I would love to find opportunities to have my work in a gallery or anywhere, where it's going to gain a wider audience than maybe what I feel like I could
Yeah.
garnish on my own.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of like where I feel like I'm at now. And I feel really fortunate and really grateful for the platforms that I've been able to find success. Mostly Instagram has been a really big game changer
Yeah.
for my business model, I guess. I mean, it kind of accidentally happened that way. I got on Instagram, I want to say like 2016, something like that. Um, And I had kind of always heard about Instagram on the side, but I never really knew much about it. And I was just anti social media generally. And I've been this way about all the new technology. I refused to get a digital camera for like 5 years. My husband's like, just get a digital camera. Finally, I get a digital camera. And then I would just badmouth the thing. Cause I'm like, now I have so many pictures that I never print out, and that's stayed true. And then it's like every little technology has been the same. And I was totally boycotting all the social media. But I had another friend that had gotten on Instagram was just talking about how great it was for visual artists. And I thought, oh, I wonder if that's a good place for me to try to post about some of my work. Because I'd done Pinterest a little bit and things like that. So I started with Instagram, and I guess the rest is history. I don't know.
Yes.
It became quite engrossing, for me.
Yeah.
But and it's like I don't have like a hate relationship. It's not like a love-hate relationship fully, but it's a little fraught. It's a wonderful tool, but it's really hard to feel like you're in control of that tool. So sometimes you feel like it's just controlling you.
Yeah, I understand.
Big balance there. So that's just kind of, I don't know. I just feel like in the beginning, I was taking every opportunity that came my way. And I feel like that was really good for me. And that's advice I would probably give to a lot of artists. Take all the opportunities, do all the different shows, do the outdoor shows, do the juried shows, go on Instagram, do it all. But I think I'm sort of at a point where I feel like I need to make more deliberate decisions about the direction that I'm going to go. So I don't know what those decisions are going to be necessarily at this stage, but kind of in that transition period.